Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This evening we have Sanchita Mataji who will be reciting in Sanskrit and Kajal Mataji who will be reciting in English. Today we are going to read from text 1 to 25. Jyoti Mataji, if you would like to please share the verses. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Jyoti Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Sorry,
Hare
I'm just running late. Is this correct verses I'm sharing?
Yes, Canto 3, Text 1. Yes, Mataji.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Hare
thank you.
Krishna.
Sanchita Mataji, whenever you're ready, if you can please start with the invocation prayers. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Eta Nigaditam पृष्ठवान् यद्भवान् मम नृणां यन्म्रियमाणानां मनुष्येषु मनीषिणाम्.
Translation. Shri Sukhadev Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, as you have inquired from me as to the duties of the intelligent man who is on the threshold of death, so I have answered you.
ब्रह्मवर्चस कामस्तु यजेत ब्रह्मणपतिम् इन्द्रम् इन्द्रियकामस्तु प्रजा कामः प्रजापतिम् देवीन् मायां तु श्रीकामस्तेजस्कामो विभावसुम् वसुकामो वसुं रुद्रान् वीर्यकामोऽथ वीर्यवान् अन्नद्यकामस्तु अदितिं स्वर्गकामोदिते सुतान् विश्वान् देवान् राज्यकामाः सद्यान् संसद्धको विषम् आयुष्कामो स्वीनौ शुनु देवौ पुष्टिकामा इलां यजेत् प्रतिष्ठा कामः पुरुषो रोदसी लोकमातरौ रूपाभिकामो गन्धर्वान् स्त्रीकामो अप्सरा उर्वशीम् आधिपत्यकामः सर्वेषां यजेत परमेष्ठिनम् यज्ञं यजेत यशस्कामः कोशः कामः प्रचेतसं विद्याः कामस्तु विरिशं दाम्पत्यर्थ उमं सतिम्.
Translation. One who desires to be absorbed in the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas, Lord Brahma and Brahaspati, the learned priest. One who desires the powerful sex should worship the heavenly king, Indra. And one who desires the good progeny should worship the great progenitors called the called the Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire, and one who aspires only after money should worship Vasus. One should worship the Rudra incarnations of Lord Shiva if he wants to be a great hero. One who wants a large stock of grains should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain heavenly planets should worship the sons of Aditi. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Vishwadev, and one who wants to be a popular with general mass of population should worship Sadhya demigod. One who desires a long span of life should worship the earth. One who desires stability in the post should worship the horizon of the earth combined. One who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet, and one who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras and the Urvashi society girls of the heavenly kingdom. One who desires domination over others should worship Lord Brahma, the head of the universe. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead, and one who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigod Varuna. One who desires to be greatly learned man, he should worship Lord Shiva, and one who desires a good marital relation, he should worship the chaste god Uma and the wife Lord Shiva.
धर्मार्थ उत्तमश्लोकं तन्तुः तन्वान् पितृन् यजेत् रक्षाकामः पुण्यजनान् ओजस्कामो मरुद्गणान्.
Translation: one should worship Lord Vishnu or his devotee for spiritual advancement and knowledge, and for protection of heredity and advancement of the dynasty. One should worship the various demigods.
राज्यकामो राज्यकामो मनुन्देवान् नृत्तिं त्वभिचरन् यजेत् कामा कामो यजत् सोमम् अकामः पुरुषं परम्.
Translation: one who desires domination over a kingdom or an empire should worship the Manus. One who desires victory over an enemy should worship the demons. And one who desires sense gratification should worship the moon. But one who desires nothing of the material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
अकामः सर्वकामो वा मोक्षकाम उदारधिः तीव्रेण भक्तियोगेन यजेत पुरुषं परम्.
A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of material desires, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead.
एतावानेव यजतामिह निह श्रेयसोदयः भगवत्यचलो भावो यद्भगवत्सङ्गतः.
All the different kinds of worshippers of the multi demigods can attain the highest perfectional benedictions, which is spontaneous attraction, unflinchingly fixed upon Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by the association of the pure devotee of the Lord.
ज्ञानम् अपरनिवृत्तगुर्णोमि चक्रम् आत्मप्रसादा उत यात्र गुणेष्व असङ्गः कैवल्यसम्पत्पथस्त्व अथ भक्तियोगः को निवृत्तो हरिकथासु रतिं न कुर्यात्.
Transcendental knowledge in relation with the Supreme Lord Hari is the knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self satisfying due to its being free from material attachment, and being transcendental, it is approved by authorities. Who could fall to be attracted?
शौनक उवाच इत्यभिव्यहृतं राजा निस्साम्य भरतर्षभः किम् अन्यात् पृष्टवान् भूयो वैयासकिं ऋषिं कविम्.
Sonaka said, the son of Vyasadeva, Srila Sukhdeva Goswami, was highly learned sage and was able to describe things in the poetic manner. Why did Maharaj Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said?
एतत् शुश्रूषतं विद्वान् सूत नो हर्हसि भासितुं कथा हरि कथोदर्कः सतां स्यो सदसि ध्रुवम्.
O learned Sutta Goswami, please continue to explain such topics to us because we are all eager to hear. Besides that, topics which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees.
सा वै भागवतो राजा पाण्डवेयो महारथः बालाक्रीडना क्रीड क्रीडन्नकैः क्रीडन् कृष्णक्रीडान्य आददे.
Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Pandavas, was from very his childhood a great devotee of Lord. Even while playing with his dolls, he used to worship Lord Krishna by imitating the worship of the family deity.
वैयासकिश्च भगवान् वासुदेवपरायणः पुरुगाया गुणोद्धारः सतां सयुर्हि समागमे.
Sukhdeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadev, was also full of transcendental knowledge and was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, son of Vasudev. So there must have been discussion of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great.
Devotee.
I cannot see the verses. Sorry. Who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees.
आयुर्हरति वैपुंसम् उद्यन् अष्टं च यन् असौ तस्यर्थे यत् शनोनिता उत्तमश्लोकवार्तया.
Both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of all good personality of Godhead.
धरवः किं न जीवन्ति भस्त्रा किं न शशन्ति उत न खादन्ति न मेहन्ति किं ग्रामे पशवो परे.
Do the trees not live? Do the uh, do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? All around us, do the beasts not eat and discharge semen?
स्ववेद वराहोष्ट्रखरैः संस्तुत पुरुष पशुः नायत्कर्ण पथोपते जे जातु नाम गदाग्रजः.
Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, the deliverer from evils.
बिलेबतोरुक्रम विक्रमानये न शृण्वतः कर्णपूटे नरस्य जिह्वासति दार्दुरिके वसुत न चोपा गायति उरुगाय गाथाः.
One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and the tongue like the of a frog.
भारः परं पट्टकिरीटजुष्टम् अपि उत्तमाङ्गं न नामेन मुकुन्दं शवौ करौ न कुरुते सपर्यां हरेरलसत् काञ्चन काञ्चन कङ्कणौ वा.
The upper portion of the body, though crowned with the silk turban, is only a heavy burden. If not bow down before the personality of Godhead who can award mukti, freedom, and the hands thou decorated with glittering bangles are like those of a dead man, if not engaged in the service of personality of Godhead Hari.
जीवञ्छवो भागवतां घ्रीरेणु न जातुमार्त्यो भिलाभेतयस्तु श्रीविष्णुपाद्या मनुजस्तुलस्य शशाङ्क्षवो यस्तु न वेदगन्धम्.
The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representation of personality of Godhead Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock, and the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered to be like tree trunks.
Reciters, please unmute yourselves.
Is it text number 24 or 23?
Hare Krishna Mataji is 23. Thank you.
Okay. जीवञ्छवो भगवान् घ्रीरेणुं न जातो मार्थ्योऽभिलाभेतयस्तु श्रीविष्णुपाद्या मनुजस्तुलस्य शशाङ्क्षवो यस्तु न वेदगन्धम्.
The person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body, and the person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing.
तद् अस्माशरं हृदयं बतेदं यद्गृह्यमानेर्हरिनामदेहेय न विक्रियेताह यदा विकारो नेत्रे जलं गात्रारुदेहेषु देहेषु हर्षः.
Certainly, that heart is steel framed, which, in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, do not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes, and the hairs stand on the end.
अथाभिधेयङ्गमनोनुकूलं प्रभा सशे भगवत्प्रधानः यदाह वैयासखिरात्मविद्या विशारदो नृपतिं साधु पृष्ठः.
O Sutta Goswami, your words are pleasing to our minds. Please therefore explain this to us as it was spoken by the great devotee Sukhadev Goswami, who is very expert in transcendental knowledge and who spoke to the Maharaj Parikshit upon being asked.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sanchita Mataji and Kajal Mataji. Really, really nice recitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Please forgive me for my mistakes.
It is
Thank
very
you,
nice.
Prabhuji.
Share my screen. Hare Krishna, everyone. So today, with your permission, we're going to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, third chapter, verses 8 and 9. Yeah, I mean, I beg for forgiveness. Again, I have no qualifications or realizations or knowledge, but I'm doing this as a service, trying to purify myself more than anything and repeating the words that I've heard. In fact, I'm going to speak mostly from Radheshyam Prabhu's lecture, which was amazing, which I heard in this. So we'll just read the verse, translation, and purports, and then begin. Dharmartha uttama shlokam tantu tanvan pitranyachet raksha kama punya janan Ojas Kamo Marutganan. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. One should worship Lord Vishnu or his devotee for spiritual advancement and knowledge, and for protection of heredity and advancement of a dynasty. One should worship the various demigods. Yeah. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The path of religion entails making progress on the path of spiritual advancement, ultimately reviving the eternal relation with Lord Vishnu in his impersonal effulgence, his localized Paramatma feature, and ultimately his personal feature by spiritual advancement and knowledge. And one who wants to establish a good dynasty and be happy in the progress of temporary bodily relations should take shelter of the Pitas and the demigods in other pious planets. Such different classes of worshippers of different demigods may ultimately reach the respective planets of those demigods within the universe, but he who reaches the spiritual planets in the Brahmajyoti achieves the highest perfection. Text 9. Rajyo kamo manun devan nirtim tvabhicharan yajet kama kamo yajet somam akama purusham param. Translation: one who desires domination over a kingdom or an empire should worship the Manus. One who desires victory over an enemy should worship the demons. And one who desires sense gratification should worship the moon. But one who desires nothing of material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And these things are so tempting, right? Domination over a kingdom. Yes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. For a liberated person, all the enjoyments listed above are considered to be absolutely useless. Only those who are conditioned by the material modes of external energy are captivated by different types of material enjoyment. In other words, the transcendentalist has no material desires to be fulfilled, whereas the materialist has all types of desires to be fulfilled. The Lord has proclaimed that the materialists who desire material enjoyment and thus seek the favor of different demigods, as above mentioned, are not in control of their senses and so give themselves to nonsense. One should therefore not desire any sort of material enjoyment, being sensible enough to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The leaders of nonsensical persons are still more nonsensical because they preach openly and foolishly that one can worship any form of demigod and get the same result. This sort of preaching is not only against the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, or those of the Srimad Bhagavatam, but is also foolish, just as it is foolish to claim that with the purchase of any travel ticket, one may reach the same destination. No one can reach Bombay from Delhi by purchasing a ticket for Baroda. It is clearly defined herein that persons impregnated with different desires have different modes of worship. But one who has no desire for material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. And this worshipping process is called devotional service. Pure devotional service means service to the Lord without any tinge of material desires, including desire for fruitive activity and empiric speculation. For fulfillment of material desires, one may worship the Supreme Lord, but the result of such worship is different, as will be explained in the next verse. Generally, the Lord does not fulfill anyone's material desires for sense enjoyment, but he awards such benedictions to worshippers of the Lord, for they ultimately come to the point of not desiring material enjoyment. The conclusion is that one must minimize the desires for material enjoyment. And for this, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described here as Param, or beyond anything material. Sripad Shankaracharya also stated, Narayana Paro Avartat. The Supreme Lord is beyond the material encirclement. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur-militam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpa Tarupyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatare Chatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I'm so sorry, I even forgot Mangalacharan. Please forgive me. May I seek your blessings to be able to say something useful and ask for forgiveness in the very beginning. Yeah, and I'm hoping that there's something you hear from the various devotees which will be of use. So where we are in this flow in the second canto, we know the first chapter, the Virat Rupa was described, and then slowly in the second chapter of the second canto, Paramatma feature of the Lord was described, and slowly we started with demigods and coming to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So essentially, it is being established, the supremacy of the bhakti process and the supremacy of the Lord himself, who the pure devotional service can be performed to. In the verses before and in these verses, it is described how can one who desires for material, who has got lots of material desires, can pray to the demigods and look to attain those. Alternatively, one who doesn't have those desires or seeks to get rid of the material desires can or should pray or worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Akama Purusham Param. Akama meaning one who has no material desires to be fulfilled. Purusham, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Param, Supreme. And clearly it's this particular disease or the problem of material desires is the very reason we are in this material world, when we wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna, and Krishna has given us a world of our own. In fact, Srila Prabhupada says, we all first become the Brahma, and we have our own world and universe. While some Brahmas are perfected and they go back home, back to Godhead, some Brahmas they're not, and they fall down to the earth, and slowly we all come here. With all the desires to enjoy separately from Krishna. Um, um, Srila Prabhupada was once told about some activities of one of the Swami, Sudama Vipra Swami. And he said something he would quote quite often: big, big monkey, big belly, Ceylon jumping, melancholy. He's saying when Lord Sri Ram had sent the monkeys to find Mother Sita, there were lots of big monkeys in that army, and as they were on the shore of on the Indian side, and discussing about how to cross the ocean. And there were lots of very big monkeys, and they had big material qualifications in terms of their size and strength. And some were saying, well, I cannot jump all the way. Some were saying I can jump, but then I'll not be able to come back. And then Hanuman went all the way and came back. And he was saying there's no point in having all the material desires and the material um, um, objects and qualities if it cannot be used in Krishna's service. And then Jayapataka Maharaj, who was around there, I think, asked, or actually Srila Prabhupada asked, I'm getting lots of applications from people to become a Swami or take sannyas. Why do you think that is? And I think Maharaj said that it's because then you will get lots of servants and you'll get all the prasad and everything in the world. And Srila Prabhupada says, well, to take sannyas is to become a das, to actually become servant of everyone. And then I think he asked another question, that should one take sannyas um, once they have got rid of their material desires, or should they take sannyas first, and that will give them the strength to get rid of the material desires? And Srila Prabhupada says, no, you have to first get rid of the material desires and then take sannyas, which was quite interesting. And then, one definition of material desires is clearly to enjoy separately from the Lord. And there's another definition which is also given, which is to desire for the material desires. And what are the materials? We know earth, air, fire, ether, which is the fifth one. Help me. Anyone wants to unmute and say? Earth, air.
False ego. False
Yeah.
ego.
And false ego as well. But five gross elements, and then of course the subtle elements as well. Man, buddhi, ahankar, right? So material desires, meaning desires for these gross elements, and of course the subtle elements, as Mataji was saying. And the gross elements, it could be anything like a land, a bungalow, a car. It could be another person and their body, because they're looking very beautiful. It could be any of the material objects. And Prabhu was saying how if one possesses an object, does not mean that they have the desire for they have the material desires, because one may have got those objects out of its own accord, but material desire is to run after those things which we don't have and focus on wealth and money. And it is so one should not judge anyone who has got material opulence, because it may not be necessary that one who has material opulence has actually got such attachment for material desires, or attachment and material desires, whereas one who may have very little may be very attached. um, Prabhu was giving the example, like I think saying Shamanand Prabhu was once giving a class, and one of the brahmacharis said, we can see how Parikshit Maharaj left everything and went to the forest. He left his raths, he left his palace, he left his um, elephants. I have no attraction for them. And Prabhu said, well, rath in the modern world is um, your car. And then he started to think, and then he said, well, what about your computer? Um, and he said, oh, yeah, I've got all my data on it and all my life's worth of, collection and lectures and everything. So he said, yeah, the possessions could be less, but it is about having the desire for more possessions, versus um, versus someone out of their own accord may have lots of possessions, but they may not be very attached, or may not have those many material desires. So there was this story where Yudhishthira Maharaj, along with the Pandavas and Draupadi, are going to the forest, um, and all the Rishi Munis of their kingdom, they were in Indraprastha, and they were going for exile, and all the Brahmanas, all the rishis wanted to come with them. And Shaunak Rishi, same Shaunak Rishi who was listening in Naimisharanya. In fact, later in this chapter, he'll be encouraging Sutta Goswami to say Srimad Bhagavatam to him. So he was also again the head of the rishis who were who of the saints who were there, and they all wanted to go. All the brahmanas wanted to go with Yudhishthira Maharaj and Pandavas to the forest. And Yudhishthira Maharaj pleaded to them. He said, well, we've got nothing. We will not be able to serve you at all. We're going to the forest, and maybe we don't know how we'll be able to serve you. Please, you should stay here and not come with us. So Shaunak Rishi says, well, do not worry, we will procure, we will eat whatever fruits and roots we get. In fact, so you brothers don't have to worry about us at all. In fact, we will even entertain you through Vedic chants and others. So we want to come with you. And then he goes on to say, do not lament. Um, um, the root cause of all attachment is material desire. So just because you have lost your kingdom, all your material wealth, do not lament. But do hear the sentence, I'll say that again. The root cause of all attachment is material desire. We all know why we are in this world, in this material world, because of material attachments, and that is because of um, material desire. And he goes on to give an analogy. He says it's like material desire is like fire spark in the hollow of a tree. So we know if there's a fire spark in the hollow of a tree, it can burn the entire tree like that. And then he says, he gives him some very nice instructions. He says, between acquiring wealth versus acquiring virtue, always go towards acquiring virtue. We always have a choice as well, right? We can go after acquiring wealth, or we can go after acquiring virtue. And Shaunak Rishi said to Yudhishthira Maharaj, whenever your in doubt, go towards acquiring virtue. And um, I mean, we keep hearing so much, but despite hearing so many times, the desire do not go away. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj asks Shaunak Rishi, he says, but I want wealth, not for my enjoyment, but I want to serve. And this is where Shaunak Rishi said something which is really, really important, because sometimes we may feel, oh, we are craving for wealth. I'm craving for wealth because then I'll be able to serve. And he says, if you still have the craving for wealth, actually, he says, good and honest people, um, what they feel ashamed about, mean-minded people enjoy it. When one acquires the objects, then what happens is that desire arises in heart, and one puts oneself in the role of enjoyer. So if things have come on their own accord and you are living that life, that's one thing. Versus if you crave for wealth, even craving for wealth so that you will be able to, um, you know, uh, uh, do some service with it. Essentially, what happens is because of the craving, it gets so, embedded in us that then we start the desire to enjoy that increases so much. So and then he says, but you've already served brahmanas and saints with wealth all your life while you were in Indraprastha. In the current time, do not fix your mind on wealth, fix it on virtue, which is a big lesson for us, right? Like if we have it on our own accord, it's fine. But if we start craving for it under the excuse of once I have it, I'm gonna use it for service, it will just bind us more and more. Um, so yeah, I mean, essentially, we need to learn to live in parameters that God has given us and not become too greedy. Um, and then, I mean, Shaunak Rishi keeps saying like, great kings in your situation performed austerity, took shelter of Krishna, and in that manner they could take care of their citizens. So um, I mean, Vedic life clearly condemns chasing after material mirage. Um, and this is where, we know craving for material wealth leads only to moroseness, and simplicity as well, in terms of one's desires, um, leads to happiness. Now, so what do we do with our material desires? Because they exist, at least in me, there are so many of them. And Gajendra says that ignorance of our heart does not go away with passing of time. So just by passing of time, lots of things happen. But one thing that doesn't happen is that the material desires go away. So we have to take some action. They wouldn't go away on their own. Um, as we grow old with passing of time, the body, which could be compared to say made of wax, it grows old and it melts. Um, and and so many things happen, like our hair may go away, our teeth may no longer be there, our beauty is lost, our potency of our senses go down, but material desires, they don't go down on their own accord, which is quite a very, very important point. When I heard that, it struck me that, yeah, desires don't go down on their own, even if the body is going old, even if, like the senses do not have the same potency, but the desire is still there. Um, and so Prabhu says, before we grow, we have to perform tapasya so that, we can cut the handcuffs of the material desires. When we are young, we should look to destroy it, because then heart becomes simple, and then one can engage in Lord's service and one is happy, which was quite quite instructive, I thought. There's another occasion where later on, we all know that Yudhishthira Maharaj still wanted to serve the Vaishnavas, and his desire to serve was um, quite intense. Um, and he asked Dhaumya Rishi, who on what to do because he cannot feed the various brahmanas, and he said, um, and I'll say something where he say, really, like he said, pray to sun god. And I'll come back to, we're talking about demigods and praying to Krishna, and he says, pray to sun god, chant these mantras, stand in the water stand in the river with water chest high or something, and then um, he will help you. And then so Yudhishthira Maharaj does the austerity, and he gets this big copper plate, and sun god gives him the benediction that, in this copper plate, whatever Draupadi cooks in the morning, um, um, as many people can eat, and this will never, the food will never finish, but it will finish once Draupadi eats. Um, and there will be no more on this plane. And it's explained that um, while Yudhishthira Maharaj did this, I mean, we have to realize various things here. One is he did that to serve others. Secondly, we know when Durvasa Muni comes and Draupadi had already eaten, and they were really worried that how will they feed Durvasa Muni and his 10,000 disciples who were with him. And they could only remember of Krishna, who came, had a little grain from Draupadi, and then Durvasa Muni and his entire um, set of disciples were fully satisfied. So we know um, how praying to Krishna is far more superior, where he can save you and fulfill everyone's belly as well. There's another pastime I was just reading last week of Bharat Maharaj, and the fall down, and then he comes back as Jad Bharat. And we all know like how those dacoits had Jad Bharat there in front of Mother Kali, and they were going to sacrifice Jad Bharat. And what happens? Mother comes out and she kills everyone and saves Jad Bharat. So we know that the demigods, they are so keen to protect the devotees. They want devotees to worship the Lord, and that is their desire as well. So even if we have material desires, we should go to Krishna, and slowly, as it was said in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna doesn't give what we want, whereas demigods give what we ask. Krishna gives us what we need, and slowly the desires gets cleansed up. I remember once we did a drama in Soho Street, which was drama on Kailash, and the story was very informative. Maybe I'll say it in short. There's this young boy who's playing, and Narad Muni comes to him. The boy's name was Kailash, and Narad Muni comes to him and says to him, um, Kailash, I want to teach you the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and I want to take you to the spiritual world. And Kailash says, no, Narad Muni, I have to play, I have to do my homework, I have to do so much, I have no time for you. You go away and come after some time. So Narad Muni goes away. He comes after a few years. He was grown up into a young man. And Narad Muni says, "No, now you are young. I want to teach you the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and take you with me to the spiritual world. And he says, no, 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 Narad Muni, I have so much to do. I have a girlfriend. I have to buy her gifts. I have to go to the college. I have to prepare for my examinations. I have no time. I have no time, Narad Muni. Go away. Come after a few years. After that, Narad Muni goes away and then he comes back after a few years, and the guy was already married and he had little children. And then when he says, well, I want to teach you the Hare Krishna Mahamantra um, and take you back to the spiritual world. And he says, oh, Narad Muni, Dandavat Pranam, but I have no time. Now I have job, I have kids to look after, I have to earn a living, I have a boss who wants so much to be me to do X, Y, and Z. I have got a wife who I need to fulfill for. I have no time, I have no time, Narad Muni. Come back after a few years. And then time passes away. Of course, the same happens when he is older. Then he becomes a grandfather, and he was busy with his grandchildren. And Narad Muni goes away, and um, then he leaves the body, um, and then he takes birth as I think. A snake. I mean, he takes multiple births, but finally, I'm just trying to short circuit, and finally takes birth as snake because he wanted to protect the property. First, he takes birth as dog, then whatever. Somehow, he takes birth as snake because the sons were not taking care of the farm, and he was busy doing that. And then Narad Muni goes inside and says, well, to the sons that you've got a snake in the farm, and the sons kill him. But the moral of the story is we have so many material desires. We are so busy in fulfilling those material desires that we have no time for the Lord. And then that just means that we are living life which is not worth living. In fact, Prabhuji was saying what is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee? Devotee knows that there's life after death. So the non-devotee focuses on enjoying as much as possible, and they want to live as long as possible, um, and so busy with enjoying their senses. A devotee um, focuses more on the quality of life rather than the quantity of life, and wants to really um, perform sadhana and service very nicely, and knows that there is life after death, which means that it is not so important to live long, but it is more important to live well and live a quality life in service of the Lord. So, how to get rid of material desires? I know we are running out of time, so I'll be quick. So, let's go to Dhruv Maharaj. I think Dhruv Maharaj gives very very nice. Um, um, approach or reasons why we should get rid of um, material desires. And he says first that the pleasure of the senses that we have in this body, even animals have, right? Like um, animals do eating, mating, sleeping, defending. They enjoy the senses of the body as we do. In fact, in some cases, they enjoy more given the various bodies they have. So what's the point of having material desires to have these little things? There's so much millions and zillions time more enjoyment in the heavenly planets, because there you have body where you can enjoy more, you live longer, and there's unlimited enjoyment. So isn't that so much more? And then he says, well, even like millions and zillion times more enjoyment is in the Brahmananda state, where the one is enjoying in the effulgence of the Lord. And that is nothing, only a drop in the ocean when you compare it to the anand of a devotee, or he says bhakta anand. And he says, so So why would we have so much desire to have these little things when, you know, we can enjoy so much more in the pleasure of what the pleasure we get through devotional service of the Lord. Um, then he says the second reason why we should um, give up our material desires is in fact, so before I get to the second reason, Prabhuji also said that there are different levels of material desire. So the same object is um, means different things to different people. Someone may have desire for gold, and another person with the same gold bar may not have the same attraction towards the gold bar compared to another person. And even after we go through the gross desires, the subtle desire of the prestige of renunciation, that I have left everything, that um, that is again a subtle desire to enjoy that I have left everything. And he says, if the guru instructs you to live in the palace and you decide to live under the tree, you're looking to enjoy your desire for that renunciation. So if the guru tells you to live under the tree, you live under the tree. Guru tells you to live in the palace, you live in the palace, because um, that is the real renunciation. And then he says the second reason why we should give up the material desires, so I'm back on that, is that the material desires are temporary. Um, there is, we know that after some time, attraction to the body goes away. The attachment to the body goes away when, with passing of time and people die. The bungalows, cars, everything is taken away eventually. And then the third reason he says is Lord is personified benediction. He gives example, which is the same as Vritrasura, like it's like calf drinking the mother cow's milk, and calf is happy, jolly, protected. And he realizes himself that he was so foolish trying to run after um, the material benedictions when he had the Lord himself, who was where he could have he says, material benediction are my punishment for my polluted material desires. But anyways, I think we're 8:42, so we've run over massively. I'm sorry for running over. I'll pause there, and if there are any corrections, um, please unmute yourselves and correct, or please add anything and forgive me for any of my mistakes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just a bit. I think you mentioned something about the demigods. I think Kali saved Jadabharat, from danger. So, and in a way, direct them to Krishna. The thing is, I think I'm a bit puzzled here because I wondered why the demigods don't walk their talk, because because they hanker more for material enjoyment or material gains.
Yeah. Yeah. The demigods don't, but they fulfill as a service the service they have got. Each of the demigods have got a particular service which has been allocated to them, right? So, like um, if you are Lord Indra, then you have a service to give people a certain, like, water if they ask for it, right? And if they basically if they do tapasya, yagya, hard work, then as demigod you're being given the responsibility to give that particular um, thing. But we also know that when one sincerely goes to the demigods and asks for direction, then demigods direct them in the right way. I mean, in case of Jad Bharat, he didn't go to the demigods because he wanted anything. He was just taken by the dacoits. But there's another example. I'm sure you all have heard this story, where there is a bhakta of Lord Shiva, and he goes and he says, "Well, I want the most precious thing." Right, and Lord Shiva says, "Are you sure you want the most precious thing?" And then he says, "Yes." So because he didn't say what I want, right? He said, "I want the most precious thing." And then Lord Shiva says, "Okay, go to Sanatan Goswami in Vrindavan." And then the bhakta goes, and then he says, "I've heard that you've to Sanatan Goswami, and when he reaches there, you've got the most precious thing." And Sanatan Goswami says, "Okay, go to the big pile of um, you know um, um, I don't know, dustbin and others on the back of the house, and you will find a jewel under the garbage. You should go get it." So he goes there, he gets it, and he says, "What is this?" He says, "Well, this is touchstone. You will touch anything, it will turn into gold." Well, he becomes very happy. He thought, Lord Shiva um, has fulfilled his desire, and he thanks Sanatan Goswami. Goes home, discusses with his wife, and says, "Look, I can touch this, and it is becoming gold." And then his wife says, "Well, where did you say it was?" "It was right in the garbage." So clearly, Sanatan Goswami has has got no value for this. There must be something which is even more precious. And then he comes back and he says to Sanatan Goswami, "It looks like you have got something more precious than this little touchstone." And Sanatan Goswami says, "I can give it to you, but you first have to go and throw it in the Yamuna and then come back, and then I'll give it to you." And then he goes, does that, and then when he comes back, Sanatan Goswami gives him the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and he says, "Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare." So basically, one who sincerely um, goes to demigods and doesn't and wants direction over others, then they do guide, but out of their duty or the service which has been given to them, they fulfill the desires of people who want those particular material objects. I mean, I probably have said more than I should. I mean, I don't know if anyone else has a better wants to add anything to that. I mean,
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very well explained. And also, you're so humble. You say, you don't know much, but you are amazing. Thank you. Your class was beautiful.
any other thoughts, comments, or we can close it there? वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
Namo Namaha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice class. Hare Krishna.
नमः। की जय।
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare Krishna।
Prabhuji.
Haribol.